I'm going to open with just a couple remarks, and then I'll turn it over to our treasurer, Bob Tomlinson. I have a plan for these Zoom calls over the next about 5 months. Our trustees for the different programs, from legislative to membership, we'll do one on awards as well as elections, to just provide some training and some guidance and some things to think about. And we'll be recording those and uploading those to YouTube for future use. So you can use them now. And also when the next council comes in, you can use them to point them to some training to help with continuity, so they can watch those and then you can fill in the gaps versus having to paint the whole story yourself for the next council. So I'd like to get all those out in about the next 5 months. So please share any feedback from this meeting with us, your regional director, with me. I do want to keep it focused on the training and the presentation through most of it, so that it'll be used when somebody clicks on it. They're not watching a lot of side trails from people asking questions. They can kind of just absorb the information, and then if they want to watch more, they can listen to all the questions and stuff at the end. But the idea is for this to be used moving into the future by your current council and the next council and things like that. So if we miss something, let us know, and we'll be glad to cover that. I sent out to the regional directors, I got clarification today that marketing materials are now available for free to be shipped to your chapters. So if you go onto the headquarters AFSA website, and I haven't looked since I got the clarification, but there used to be a price list of everything that you could order, from posters to the color trifolds, to the benefit. There's like a quad fold with benefits. Some of them I hadn't even heard in a while, like a discount to Great Wolf Lodge and things like that. Some new things have been added. So definitely get on there, get you some I am AFSA, we are AFSA signs. If you've never seen them, if you look in like the top right corner for Roselle, how do you say your name? 1320, Roselle Agape?
Yes, Agape.
Yes, so you see how big their chapter poster is right there? It's a little bit bigger than that, but you can get all these full, large color prints of posters with people in different uniforms. Like I think Command Chief Lisa Arnold is in one of them. And you've got veterans, retirees, like they're all these nice AFSA posters, and they're gonna come rolled up in a tube, but you can get those mounted onto like the foam poster board. And so you'll have this nice firm poster. And so you can put it outside of wherever you do your meetings. You can put it on an easel, and it just adds a whole nother layer of professionalism to your meetings, or your membership drives at the BX, or, you know, at the dining facility and things like that. So I'd encourage you to get those and utilize those posters in that way. They're very cool, as well as all those other things that you see on there. So that stuff is free now. Don't go crazy, because I don't want them to turn this off. They did this a couple years ago, and you could make an order for like during 1 month, but then they went back to charging. So make a nice order, get the stuff shipped to the chapter, and you can start spreading it out to everybody on base when you're briefing ALS, FTAC, and things like that. So that's really a huge thing, because those posters used to cost a good little bit of money. And some things you would get like a 25 count for 10 bucks or something like that. And it really started to get, it could get expensive. So check that out, place your order. If you have any issues, let me know.
Blake?
Yes.
You got more signing in. Trying to be.
Well, I'm clicking Erica, and it said joining for 5 minutes, and it wasn't letting her in for some reason. I just clicked it again, so we'll see if it lets her in.
Okay.
37 is an odd number. I don't know why I would be limited to 37 people. So hopefully it'll let her in. And then after this, probably next week, I'll send it out, or I'll send it out today, and I'll just remind you that it's out there. But the Division 7 president, Chief Chalk, she has made a great PDF on your first 90 days as president. So take a look at that. She's made a bunch of videos. Now, it's not her face. It's not all choreographed and everything, but she's got some nice slides that she talks through things. And in that PDF, she has training videos on quarterly reports, budgets, audits. I watched her quarterly report one yesterday, and it's not going to be as detailed as what we're going to go over tonight. But again, a great resource for maybe you to touch up on some items for the person that hopefully you're all grooming to be president next year, as well as anyone that you turn this over to. You can give them this PDF on what to do in the first 90 days. So there's day 1, take a deep breath, bask in it. Day 2, you're going to get to work. And then day 7, it is not every single day for 90 days, but it lays out a plan and it's got links to a lot of videos. So please take a look at that, utilize that, and share that with your next council. So those are the things I wanted to touch on. I guess one other thing, I'll give you an update on where we're at as a division for membership. We are currently at, for retentions, this is what it looked like, and I'm just going to kind of read the numbers from January to today. We did 4 retains in January, then 3, then 5, then it jumped to 15, and we're at 10 for May right now. For recruiting, starting in January, we did 30, 39, 21, 37, and we're at 34 for May. So retentions are going up. I can definitely see, I mean, I'd have to do the math, but that's probably 800% improvement over last year. But as 1320, I heard them say on their call, they lost 70 people this month. And if you saw my previous email, this is the month, the 4-month roster that you print for May is going to be your largest one for the rest of the year. So you definitely want to engage on that this month. And even next month, you can come back to the one that you print, because you can still backdate those 4-month rosters and print it for May 1st or April 1st or March 1st to just make sure that you get your message out. Obviously, not everyone is going to sign up, but we want to make sure that we have 100% contact, through email and through phone number, and that you guys are setting up teams to work through those. I don't expect anyone to be a Air Force recruiter and turn people, have 100% rollover rate, but we want to try our best. And these people have already bought once. That's the great thing. They've already heard what AFSA is. They've already signed up once. That's the beauty of doing retentions, is just reaching out to them. So with that being said, that's a slight membership update. That is still a very big hot topic for AFSA as an international association, and I still need your diligent efforts there. So please build teams. Please make teams across your base to help with your retention efforts, because it's 2 parts, recruiting and retentions. And everybody's going to have trouble right now with recruiting, just because your access to the base, to the FTACs, to the ALSs is limited. But retentions you can do from home. So I ask for your focus there with your chapters and with your teams. So with that being said, if you have questions for me, you can ask them at the end. But for now, I'd like to turn it over to Chief Master Sergeant Retired Bob Tomlinson, our treasured treasurer of 20 years. So he's going to do some screen sharing, and you're actually going to get to see this training way better than we did 2 years ago when we had a projector. And obviously we couldn't provide training this year, but we did a trial run, and we were really impressed with how you can see the screen and see all the data on this. And take notes, but we will be recording it for you. Bob?
Well, thanks a lot, Blake. Good evening, everybody. I know a lot of folks a lot of time don't understand, why do we do the quarterly AAF? And a lot of people, when you ask them that question, the first thing they say is, well, if I don't do it, I'm not going to get my rebate. Well, that is true, but there's a bigger reason why we do these. And the main reason is AFSA is a tax-exempt organization, and we fall under the nonprofit 501c19 veteran organization in the IRS code. And completing our AAFs and sending them to headquarters on a routine basis gives headquarters, AFSA, all of the ammunition they need to file our annual tax exemption with the IRS. They do that, on behalf of all of the chapters within AFSA. If we didn't do this, you'd have to file an individual tax return for your chapter every year, and I'm sure you don't want to do that. Basically, they have to document how we, what our income is, what our expenses are, and maintain our nonprofit status. That's the main key thing. A lot of nonprofits are always looked at as to whether or not they are in fact still a nonprofit from when they were initially set up. So it's on a continuing basis that we have to keep these things going. And the way we do that is the way we do it. The way we set that up was to do the quarterly AAFs to maintain that nonprofit status and not turn into a for-profit organization. The quarterly AAF gives them everything that they need from all 125 chapters. Those are funneled obviously through, in our division, through the regional director, and then we send them up to the division president, who then sends them on to headquarters. A lot of you may not realize we do an actual AAF at the division level as well. So all divisions, all 7 divisions have to do it, and all 125 chapters have to do it on a quarterly basis. So as you can see, it's really important that AAFs are done for each chapter and that they're done in a timely fashion. The quarters are the standard quarters, January, February, March is quarter 1. That report is due by the middle to the end of April, then April, May, June, the second quarter, and that's due in July, etc. One other item I'm going to show you on here, I'm sure a lot of you may know some of this, but I want to just kind of give you the basics today. Each chapter has a unique federal tax ID number, FEIN or tax ID number. I will be sending out in the month of June to each one of the chapter presidents the IRS Form 990. We have to collect those once a year, and normally I do it when we're at the PAC in March or April, and I go around the room and get all the chapter presidents to sign them, and then I send them in. Well, obviously without us being together, I wanted to wait until we got through all the quarterly reports, and I'll probably do them in early June. So if you're a chapter president, be looking for an email from me. I'll fill out the form. All you need to do is sign it and send it back to me. You'll have to scan it in and send it back. I'll collect them all, and then I will send them to headquarters. So at this point, I'll turn over to the sample AAF that I've got here. And let me see if I can do this right. We did this the other night. And Blake, I need screen sharing.
Okay.
Can you guys see this?
No.
Okay. I've got it up on the screen, Blake.
I'm trying to.
Okay. Let me know when you can see it, and then I'll move on.
I see the ellipses by your name. I can make you the host, then you would be allowed to do it. And screen share is not. One participant at a time can share. It's asking me to share my screen. I can't see yours.
Hey, sir, just ask you, we found this out when we were doing our meetings. Are you actually paying for the Zoom app, or are you using the free service?
Yeah, I'm paying for it right now.
Is that paying for it?
Just so we have all the features.
Okay, just checking, sorry.
No, no worries.
Yeah, we did a dry run a couple weeks ago, and this worked. I don't know what's different tonight.
Screen share. What I'm going to do, I'm going to make you the host.
Okay.
See if that gives you the rights to do it. So you should be able to click screen share now and pull up whatever screen you want.
How about now? Can you see the AAF form, anybody?
No.
No, sir.
Okay, let's see here. How about out of here? Now you
There
should
it
be
is.
able to see it.
Yay.
Okay. All right. So what I did was I went through and kind of dummied up one here. Obviously, this is going to be just made up information. But what I did was actually put the year in here. I'm doing it as a first quarter report. And I just put a chapter number in here. It happens to be my chapter. Obviously, you need to fill in the information in president's area. Let's see here. Can we move down? So be sure that you get this information filled out. And I want to make one comment about when you do this form. I don't work at the base anymore. I retired 3 years ago from my federal job, but I imagine PII is still a problem on government computers. I would strongly recommend you not do this form at work, because you are going to have to provide a lot of financial information. You do have to give name, address, zip code, phone number, email, and the federal ID number. I would do this at home. Do it on your personal, and make sure that you don't do it at work. I've had some people a couple of times where they got in trouble in the years past where they were doing this at work and been emailing it within the military email system, and then they lost their access to their account. So if any of that's changed, I'm sorry, but that's my foot stomp for the night. Do I need to do the admit since you made me the host? Forgot somebody new here. Mary Jo's coming in. Hopefully I added her on there. Okay, so I went in here into section number 1 and I added in a couple of comments. And you do this by adding add comments. And I just typed in, for example, held 3 general membership meetings, January, February, and March, presented annual chapter awards to the chapter members and spent $250, and then sponsored and led an AFSA golf tournament at the base course and put a date there, and that there was an expense of $600. Now, the reason I didn't put these expenses somewhere else is because these are not really Americanism type of expenses. So make sure that when you're doing the Americanism section, section 2, that they include these types of things that are listed in the first paragraph. So chapter awards are not base awards, and a golf tournament would be done as a fundraiser. So that's why I listed the money in here, and I'll show you in a few minutes why I did that. Then during the quarter, this chapter example here had a few Americanism activities. January 15th, 15 visits to the local vet home. There was no expense, so I didn't list anything. 31 January, supported a local elementary school reading program. 10 members attended, no expense for that. February 12th, donated $200 here to the annual Wing Awards program. Then in March, on March 3rd, met with the ALS class, briefed them on AFSA and the benefits. And then finally on March 12th, presented the Academic Achievement Award at the ALS class graduation 20-1, and there was an expense of $75. I'm not really going to cover membership in this because we really wanted to tailor this to the financial portion, so I will skip that for now. And then legislative wise, you could put in comments in here. I really won't go over that right now because there really is no legislative financial tie-in unless you do spend funds to do like a membership drive or a legislative briefing and you spend some information or some dollars there. So dropping down to section 5. Here's a fundraising activity. So you noticed above, I indicated that we had held a chapter-sponsored golf tournament, 125 participants. It was on March 28th. And the net income that we took in was $900. But the expense listed above was $600. Because most of you probably realize when you're doing a financial type of budget, even your personal one, you have expenses and you have income. So I listed how much we took in as a fundraiser there of $900. So now dropping down to the financial portion, which is the meat of tonight's training. So the first thing you need to do, if this is the first quarter report, I always recommend that you start out in this block right here with the previous quarterly report ending balance. So in this example, I looked up what was the previous fourth quarter from last year. The ending balance was $2,000. So put that in here. And that is your starting point. Don't worry about this being negative right now. This is before we did anything in January, February, or March. So now during January, February, and March, we got our quarterly rebate for the fourth quarter. In this case, the example was $85. We also had fundraising activities, golf tournament, and that was $900, as you saw from above. So you're tying it back to the other sections of the form. And then we took in some interest on our savings account of $2. Again, this is for the whole quarter, everything that happened in January, February, and March. You do have 3 months there, so you have 3 months of savings, the interest, you have 3 months of expenditures, etc. So keep that in mind. Then award-wise, we spent $250 that I listed above for our chapter awards. And we had fundraising activities. It cost us $600 to run that golf tournament. And then we donated to annual awards. The wing commander or command chief came to us and asked for our support. That is, let's see, ooh. And that was $200. And then finally, we had one other expense, and that was to the ALS graduation when we sponsored that award. And that was $75. So as you can see, we're tying our expenses in this section here back to other items that are listed on the AAF. It's really important that we show that so that when AFSA does our nonprofit status, they know how we are spending our money, that we're not just out here, you know, raising, you know, having a lot of fundraising money and then just keeping it in our coffers. So if you look down here, during the quarter, we had income of $987. We had expenses of $1,125. So for this particular quarter, we spent more than we actually took in, and it's okay that that happens. So it's a negative $138. Now, we knew we started with 2,000 at the beginning, so this calculations are all done for you. So the ending fund balance at the end of this quarter is $1,862. And you notice that the bank fund balance here is tracking this for us. Before I go down to the final area here, I want to explain some of these. The areas that are blue in here, those have formulas already calculated for you. This is an Excel spreadsheet. You can add anything that you want in here. There's up to 5 different particular modifications you can do. But these areas that are white, you can't change any of these areas here. Those are already locked in and there's no way to change them. The same thing down here. I couldn't change any of these here, but I was able to add into these bottom 5, so you can tailor those for your chapter. And you saw that I could type in there. So now that I have all of my expenses and all of my income calculated and accounted for, then the next thing I need to do is at the end of March, because this is the end of the first quarter, I need to go to find out what are my account balances. So I go to my end of March bank balance that I got the statement from the actual, in this case, and Federal Credit Union. And I look down and I say, okay, my checking balance was $1,505. Okay, I'm still off 357, but the 357 is in our savings account. And when you do this, if it all adds up properly, this has to come to 0. If this doesn't come to 0, you've got a mistake somewhere else. Making sure that you're accounting for everything during the quarter and that you've got the right bank balances at the end of the quarter. If you notice, I put a note here. The authorized signers on here should be the people that can actually sign on that account. Recommend that it not be more than 3. 2 is fine. President, vice president, and treasurer are typically the 3 people who have access to the account. But if you decide it needs to be different individuals, that's fine too. But I would make sure that it's at least the president and the treasurer. So again, these expenses I tried to tie back in on other parts of the actual AAF. And that's what they're looking for. So we, you know, it shouldn't just be willy-nilly. It really needs to be worked in obviously in a logical format. Now, I always recommend, when I was a chapter president many, many years ago, I would start my quarterly AAF at the beginning of the quarter. I would create a form and I would do it as I went. As we did events, I would do it little by little. That way I didn't have to sit down at the end of the 90 days and try to remember back, oh, what did we do? Okay, so when it comes to expenses, in this case, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 expenses. Now it's really important that we keep track of all of our expenses, and it's mandatory that we use an AFSA form. It's called the Claim for Expenses. And I'm going to pull that up right now and we'll take a look at that. Got a blank one here?
Nope.
You're probably gonna have to
Do that, or
click,
do I need to do a share
you're gonna
again?
need to click screen share and select
Okay.
the one you want to show.
New share, right? Let's see.
Will it share more than one document?
That I don't know. Do you know, Blake?
I don't know, but if you did, it'd probably split it in two, and you probably don't want to
Well,
split.
no, here we go. You guys can't see this though, right?
Right.
All right, hang on a minute. Let's close this one. And then we've got to go to, okay, how about now? Sorry, everybody, this is kind of new for all of us. So I think I have to stop the share and have to start a new one. I think that's what's got to be done.
There you go.
Can see it now?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Okay, so let's just take one of these items. Let's say awards, the $250 that we did for the awards. Now those were chapter awards. So let's say that we bought them at the ABC Trophy Shop. And you would put the address in here, and the email and all that kind of stuff. And then let's say that we did this on the 14th of January, 2020. Purchased. I'm not used to typing on a laptop. Sorry, everybody. Okay, we spent $250. Now, I realize that there are a lot of other blocks on here, and a lot of people have asked me, can I do multiple expenses on one form? The answer is yes, you can, provided the actual expenses to the same place. I would strongly recommend you do one claim for expenses form per purchase. It'll be a lot easier to track these in the long run. I know when AFSA did this many, many years ago, you could put multiple things on here, different expense codes, all that kind of stuff, cost centers. I would strongly recommend that you stick to just one a purchase per actual form. If you notice on page 2, then it brought down the 250. If I'm the one who went and bought these, then I would go ahead and sign this, date it, and then I would submit it to the treasurer if I was not the treasurer. If you're the treasurer and you went and bought these, then you submit it to the president. 2 key things here. The person who buys it cannot approve it in this block. This is on page 2 in the lower right corner. It needs to be 2 different individuals. It really should be, because the president's ultimately responsible, the president should be approving all of the purchases. If the president purchases something, then either the vice president can sign his approval or the treasurer. But you need to have that 2 individual disinterested double check to make sure that you're not, having any kind of issues later on when the audit is done. So then it would be approved, date paid. Now, if it was paid by a credit card, what I put in here is I just put paid by credit card. If I bought it myself and I put out my personal money and I'm submitting this as a claim, then I would put my name at the top of this form as the purchaser, and then I would provide the receipt from the ABS Trophy Shop, and then they would reimburse me. The chapter would reimburse me. But if you buy it by your debit card or your credit card, you can just put paid by credit card. Don't worry about the date paid. I'm sorry, in the check number, put down paid by credit card, the date it was paid, how much it was. Now, treasurers, you need to have some kind of a tracking device, some kind of a numbering system. I sent you guys the financial checklist today. The way I do these is I use the process of the year, like 2020, dash, then I put the quarter, like 01, and then dash, and the first voucher of the year is voucher number 1, then 2, 3, 4, 5. You can use whatever you want, but just have some kind of a voucher numbering system. If you want it to be as simple as 001, you can do that, but just make sure that you've got some kind of tracking so that you know if there's anything missing along the way. Again, each one of the purchases that you do, you need to use this form. It is not an option. And I'm taking all this information out of AFSA Manual 100-4. It comes under the principles 6 through 12. It's pages 13 through 37 of AFSA Manual 100-4. You can get that off the AFSA website under resources, and then there's a tab for manuals. These forms also are available out there if you don't have them. They're in the same location under resources. There's just a separate tab for forms and a separate tab for manual. At the end of the year, when you get ready to do your audit, you're going to provide all your records as far as your bookkeeping, whether it's a check register or Excel spreadsheet, along with all of your expense forms and all of the quarterly AAFs, so that your disinterested parties that are going to do your audit can quickly go through here and see, did everything get approved properly, and was it documented, and how was everything kept? I mean, it's a basic bookkeeping process, but I know some people sometimes think it's a little bit overwhelming. I have been doing this job for a long time. I was the Division 11 president, and when I turned that over, I became the division trustee or treasurer, and I've been that for almost 20 years now. I'm here available at any time for you to contact me. Some of you, I've seen some faces I've talked to on the phone. If you have any questions ever about the treasurer job, presidents, vice presidents, or treasurer, please don't hesitate to contact me via email, or you can call me, either way. Does anybody have any questions at this point? I know there are a lot of good treasurers out there. I see a lot of your faces on here. We just have to make sure that we maintain all of the financial records, in the proper order, because if we ever get audited, that's when things are going to have to be dug out. And I would like to see everybody, be ready to go for that, at a moment's notice. So Blake, I guess if we don't have any questions, that's all I have for this evening.
Bob?
Yes.
So this is Tester Lombardozzi from chapter, or from the debt. Question for you. We didn't know we had to do that form. So for all the past year's expenses, should we backtrack every single expense and put on that form to file it?
Did you have an audit done of your records for last year?
Yes.
Okay, and the auditors didn't ask for that form?
They did. They marked it no because we didn't have them.
Okay, how many expenses did you have? Do you know roughly?
I have to pull up my Excel spreadsheet. I don't have it on hand, unfortunately. Is that
I would recommend that you go back and create the forms or do a MMFR, but the easiest way would be to go back and do the forms if you've got the right people there to do the signatures. You have to maintain financial records for 3 years. So even though it's just last year, I would take the time now, since we're not too far into 2020, and get those forms created. And you can just write a memo for record on the bottom of page 2 of that. There's a place for additional comments, and you can just put down there to you're documenting the purchase. Do you have receipts?
I have receipts. Now, I got the program for the previous treasurer. There was no Excel spreadsheet. There was no safe. I don't know how they did it. I got like 0 turnover and training on it. So I'm kind of learning as I'm going.
Well, that's why we're doing this tonight.
Yes, definitely. I could backtrack from all whenever I took over, but it wouldn't be 3 years. What should I do in that case?
Well, I would do whatever you can for last year, if that's what's in your lap right now. Do you have any records for the years prior to that at all?
Negative.
Okay, well, I think you and the president ought to do a memo for record at this point of what you discovered to document the file from this point forward. But if you've got receipts for last year, I would do a claim form for each one of them and then put a memo.
Sir.
If you need any help, reach out to me and I'll help you out. What chapter are you with?
Hey, Timmy there?
Yeah, I'm here. We're chapter 1311.
1311. Okay, 0.1 EMI. Yeah, I can help you guys. It's not a problem. So just contact me. You can look my email up on the KPL, or go through Chief Lakovic, because I think he's your regional director, and we can do a Zoom call like this if you want to.
Hey, Bob, will you discuss petty cash?
Okay, petty cash.
Just a little bit, the idea behind it, because some people have none, some people have a lot.
Yeah, petty cash is not something I would recommend that you try to deal with more than just a couple of weeks. I'm not really sure. I've never been in a chapter that had a petty cash, so I can't really give a good example of why you'd have it. But if you have petty cash, you should get that into the bank as quick as you can. and do an accountability of it. So I don't know if you hold some kind of a fundraiser and somebody wants to pay you cash for something or whatever, I would not keep that in a box in somebody's desk or God knows where. We found one chapter had several $100s in petty cash, and that's just ripe for some kind of a problem. And I would hate for the OSI or any other individual try to get into our business in that regard. So if you do deal in cash, it's not prohibited. It is strongly suggested you not. But if it does happen, that's okay. Just collect it and put it into the bank and annotate it on your bank balance. Any other questions?
What about the cash on hand?
Well, that's the petty cash we were talking about.
So you're saying try not to keep any on hand?
I wouldn't keep any. I would strongly recommend you not keep any. If you collect it for whatever reason you have, and I mean, cash was a way to do it, just get it into the bank as quick as you can. Don't be hanging on to it. Don't put it in a box. You know, don't have it. There's really no reason to deal in that. It's just not safe. And it's ripe for any kind of a problem. And a lot of people could ask questions. So I strongly suggest you not deal with that. Try to get it into the bank as quickly as you can. And annotate why you collected it, obviously.
Could you quickly explain what disinterested party for the purpose of an audit?
Sure. Disinterested party, at the end of the year, after you've done all 4 of your quarters reports and we turn over into January, there's an audit that has to be done by 2 people that are disinterested in chapter financial affairs. It technically should be people who are not on the bank account, so not the president, not the treasurer or the vice president, whoever's got access. You should find 2 other people. They can be chapter members if they're not individuals that are related to anybody that's got access, but they need to go through all your claim for expenses. They need to go through your income, your expenses, and make sure that everything's documented. And they need to make sure that the correct bookkeeping is being done and everything jives along with the bank balances. So each month, your treasurer should be balancing the bank account using the bank statement. I know a lot of people nowadays want to do everything online, and that's okay, but you're going to have to turn this stuff over in some kind of format, either electronically or paper printed out for the 2 auditors to take a look at your records. So that needs to be done no later than the 15th of February every year. Now, what I used to usually do was try and go get a couple people in finance when I worked at the base. And they were, usually they're used to, working a ledger and dealing with money. So I'd get a couple of people in finance that would do it for me. But you can get any 2 individuals to do it, but I just would strongly suggest that you have your paperwork together when you hand it over to them. There is an audit form that has to be used, and it comes out of the AFSA website as well. It's signed not only by those 2 individuals. In the case of Greg here, when I asked him about the claim for expenses and they didn't find them, they just answered no, those weren't there, and they moved on. So when they found out they weren't being used, they probably should have asked, well, why not, and can we get them created? That would have been the next thing to be done.
Last thing I'll say, Bob, besides thank you, is the key thing is that because we are a nonprofit, that there needs to be documentation for all income and expenses.
Oh, absolutely. And that's why I started out with the why. The big why is that being a 501c19 nonprofit, the IRS is always checking the nonprofit status to make sure that they're following the rules that they originally agreed to when they became a nonprofit from a financial standpoint. So that's why we continue to do these types of things that we do. And the quarterly report is the avenue for the chapters and then the divisions to report into headquarters so that they can do their quarterly reporting to the IRS and their annual filing. And again, the 990 form that I'll be sending to all the chapter presidents in early June, please sign that and send it back to me. Once I collect all 21 chapters and we do the division 1, Blake, then I will scan them all in and I will send them to headquarters and we will be done for the year. Normally I do pass those out and kind of go around the room at the pack, but we didn't get that opportunity this year, so we're going to have to do things a little bit different. Any other questions from the field? Okay, hearing none, I guess that's all my training there, Blake. Thank you very
I
much.
do have a question. Sorry, this is Master Nval.
Hey, Joe.
Hi, how are you, Chief?
Good.
this is kind of off topic, but still with finances. Has anyone received maybe problems with getting reimbursed for the flights from the division conference? We didn't receive, we paid with our debit card, and I know we were keeping track. I talked to you, Chief, about it, but we have some issues getting reimbursed from the airlines. I didn't know if any other chapters were experiencing that, if they got reimbursed or not.
What airline did you guys use?
I believe it was Southwest. It was fairly cheap, but I mean, it's $200.
Are they trying to give the flyer a credit? Is that what they're trying to do?
So one of them said they refunded. One of the members said that they called and canceled and they refunded it. And I guess the other member is saying that Southwest is telling them it was too late or something, that they didn't cancel in time.
Mm-hmm. Did they spend their own money or did you use the chapter money to do that?
It was our chapter money.
We could probably, Blake, elevate that up to headquarters to see if we can get some relief and help and assistance. Mary Jo, since I'm your regional director, could you kind of send me a little timeline of what you tried to do?
Yes.
Like who is it? What they did, you know, what have they done? What kind of answers have you got? Give me a little chronology and then I'll send it up to you, Blake, and maybe we can make a call up to headquarters and see if we can get any help.
Thank you.
No, that's good. And I mean, that reminds me, obviously everybody's heard that the international pack has been suspended, the business portion. I've got to go in and cancel my hotel reservations. So hopefully no one made flight reservations, but don't forget to go ahead and go back to the hotel and cancel your hotel reservation. Likewise, pass that message on to anybody else that was planning to travel. It's not on the call so that they can cancel theirs as well. Does anybody have any questions for me in regards to the international pack or anything going on at the division that I can answer for you guys?
Sadie, you want to touch on how often you do an audit if you change a treasurer? You only stated once a year.
Well, what I would say is what would make the most sense is whenever you change treasurer or you change president or anybody that's got any access to that bank account, I would do an audit at that point. And presidents, I know you want to put a lot of trust in your treasurer, but you need to kind of have that trust but verify attitude because it is money. And so, you know, every now and then sit down with your treasurer, kind of go over the books, see how things are going so that at the end of the year, you don't have a lot of issues to backtrack on. But if you do a treasurer changeover, president or anybody that changes, because I know a lot of you will do elections maybe in the fall or maybe someone PCSs, I would look at doing an audit at that time.
And look at training your next treasurer too. Some of you may plan to continue on and
please
be the treasurer, you know, next year, but now's the time to start grooming people for that so that the transition's easier. And just random people don't show up to your elections and say, I'd like to be treasurer, and they've never done it before. So, you know, some of those people that are showing up. Likewise, same thing for president and vice president. Make sure you guys are looking for people within your chapter, within your base, to bring them into the fold and groom them for leadership so that they can continue on with what you're doing. And obviously that makes your job easier if you're going to move on to be the senior advisor. So be on the lookout for those things. Does anybody have?
I'd like to clarify a point that you made there, Bob. If you have an election in October and you change your council, yes, you should do an audit. But that does not relieve you from the annual audit that is due in February.
Good point, Kerry.
Thank you, Kerry. Does any other chapters have any questions?
Again, I'm always available. You know, you can contact me directly if you want to, as long as it's okay with the regional directors if it's a financial issue. I'll try to help you through. I've talked to a couple of chapters at length this last quarter, tried to help them get up and running because there were some very poor handoffs and people got handed a bucket of worms, and then they were trying to figure out what do they need to do. We don't want to scare anybody off. We need some good leadership at the chapters. And, I just want to make sure that everybody feels comfortable when it comes to the financial arena. So contact me if you have any questions, and I'll get on the phone with you. We can email, we can do a Zoom call, whatever we need to do. Thanks again, everybody.
Yeah, so any other questions, even off the topic? I'm glad, that went pretty quickly, and that'll make a great video for turnover for the next council, the next treasurer. And I will likewise share that first 90 days as president product from DP Chalk. Do we have any other questions from the chapters on anything related to finances, membership, awards, elections?
It's Sandoval again. I guess I wanted to see if any other chapters were holding general membership meetings. Here at Buckley, we are still working from home, so only mission essential personnel are going to work. We had, executive council meetings, a meeting on Zoom, but I didn't know if anybody else was having general membership meetings, and if so, how are you doing them?
That's a good question, and I would definitely recommend, post it in the chat if you want, so not everybody's speaking at once, but if you're doing Facebook Lives for your general membership meeting, post it in the chat real quick. Go like some of these chapters that are doing things. And during this time, it's really critical that anything that you do, you're being very public with it on Facebook. Chapter 1320 just did their general membership meeting today, as well as they're doing a Honk for Grads event on base, not just themselves and advertising it themselves, but in conjunction with the wing to make that a base event and not just an AFSA event on a base. So any of those things, any of those wins, any of those engagement for our airmen and for our families, please be very public on Facebook at this time. So definitely go like 1320. Put it in the chat. If you're doing stuff, 1201, these chapters are very active on Facebook, and see what other people are doing and rinse and repeat for success. So
yeah, Carrie has posted out here the reminder that you need to have a general membership meeting quarterly, and you have to have an executive council meeting every month. Those can be the way we're doing it right now.
But think outside the box definitely, and engage your membership with what AFSA is doing. Share voter voice things that are coming out that you want to push on. So it's not just a laundry list of things, just at your general membership meeting, but engage in that way with them to see what we're doing. Likewise, like the Division 6 Facebook page, as well as the headquarters AFSA page. And Family Matters has their own page as well. Speaking of which, we have a new Family Matters trustee. Our communications trustee, Michelle Chabot, is going to be doing Family Matters. And just from my perspective, at the division, I see the Family Matters trustee as a way to funnel information and share information amongst chapters. So you'll be seeing Family Matters events, Family Matters photos from other chapters posted to the Division 6 page, but we want to be a conduit from the International Family Matters trustee down to the chapter level. And I've had different views on Family Matters over the years. When I was a chapter president, I felt this need to create completely separate events for family members, Family Matters. And I was always like, man, I'm having trouble getting members to my regular events. Why am I going to make new events for Family Matters? And when I was speaking to Trustee Brown at the international level, she was sharing just other ideas with me on this. It's in the way that we are engaged with military members on a base at an ALS when we go to their graduation. That's directly to the military members. What are we doing when we engage with veterans off base? What are we doing when we engage with a book reading at the CDC? Many of our members are doing these things. We just want to have hashtag AFSA with it, Family Matters. You're not creating a new event, but we have AFSA being spread throughout the base, throughout the community, and how are we focusing on spouses, children, family members, base housing. Those are all family matters issues, and that's part of your family matters program, but not necessarily unique and specific family matters activities or planned events in and of themselves. So keep that in mind. Some of that information you'll be seeing come down, hopefully through Trustee Chabot, but obviously like that Facebook page for Headquarters AFSA Family Matters from Trustee Brown. But she's new to the position, and I feel that it's definitely a marketing and communication position at the division. And so we want to share ideas down to the chapter level for you to implement and engage, obviously, the family members at your local chapters. Likewise, any questions that you have, please engage your Family Matters trustee with Trustee Chabot, and we can develop that relationship and that program at your chapter. And again, even at the chapter level, there's a lot to it that is marketing and communication, sharing photos and activities and hashtags. When you're doing things with spouses and family members, you're just sharing those wins and that engagement. Any other questions? Comments?
I have a question. For the international pack, are we going to do a VTC, kind of like what we did for division? Do you know?
Yes, so just if you want to get the latest from the international president's mouth himself, we shared the video on the division page of his announcement of that, but they are planning a virtual professional enhancement seminar. So with Chief Master Sergeant of the Air Force, the Chief Master Sergeant of the Space Force, they're trying to get on as well. So you're going to have some big name speakers there for that, but the dates and exactly, they have a proposed agenda, but the format on how they're going to do that and what they're going to do hasn't been announced yet, but they're in the planning stages for that. So good question. Thank you. And so likewise, put that message out to the chapters through your distro list and your social media. And you could do it as simply as sharing the IP's message that he posted on Facebook.
So, President Manuel, to clarify, all AFSA business has been suspended until the 2021 PAC, but the professional development pieces, they're still trying to conduct virtually. Is that correct?
That is correct. So proposed talking papers, bylaw changes, elections, those are all going to be postponed until the following year.
But there will be an awards presentation of some sort for the 2019 awards, right?
Yes, and that hasn't been announced exactly what that's going to look like either, but that's going to be a part of that. Right now, the rough agenda that I saw was showing like 2 days, and not all day, but probably 2 to 3 speakers a day for 2 days, I think is what they're looking at. So the awards will be part of that, but I haven't been given the exact information on what it's going to look like when they do that. Any other questions? Well, I want to thank everybody for being on. I want to thank you for what you do at your base. I mean, you represent AFSA to your base and to your local community. So thank you for your willingness to serve. And this is a rough time for AFSA with our membership. So continue to stay engaged. Engage with us if you need help with anything. Engaged with your leadership team. I know I've spoken to a few of you, and if I need to call your command chief to ask them to be present at your next meeting or be present for your elections, that can go a long way if you don't have that relationship built. So building those relationships is huge. Let us know how we can help with that and where you need help. Thanks for being on right before your 4-day weekend. So thanks for your willingness to serve. Remember those who served and sacrificed to gave their all this weekend as we get to enjoy the freedoms that we have. Please, your executive council here at Division 6 is excited, ready to serve, and please reach out to any of us for any of the things that we're in charge of, from finances to legislative to membership, and or give me a call. My number's out there. love to have conversations with any of you as we continue to set the standard and lead all the divisions in AFSA. This is a great team. I'm, again, glad and proud to serve as your division president. So thanks for your willingness to be on. If you have any feedback or questions for me, just send me an email after this. We'll record this for future use, and you probably won't, you'll see the email, but just remember to dig it out. I'm going to forward that product out from DP Chalk that you can share, review yourself, and definitely share as part of the turnover, moving forward for use with your chapters. So thanks for your time, and y'all have a great weekend. Thank you. Hey, Bob, can you turn it back over to me so I can pause the recording?
Yeah, you're going to have to tell me how to do it.
Go to my face and the ellipses next to mute.
Okay.
Click that and click
Make host.
Thank you for having us.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Did that work?